Welcome to Season 1 of The Chris Hanna Show, where we're going all in on how to improve your performance, your productivity, and your impact. Today's podcast is brought to you by my website, chrishanna.ca. There you're going to find blogs, ebooks, and coaching solutions on how to assist you with achieving your goals. You'll also find a description of some of my recent speaking topics that are currently offered. For all that and more, visit chrishanna.ca today. As we go through so much change and turmoil in recent months, we've really started to see that organizations need to shift their approach. They need to change how they do business, adopting new technologies or new processes or making hard decisions. Now, with all of that comes one lesson that I learned from a television show that I'm a huge fan of, and that is Star Trek. And the lesson is that you sometimes need to blow up the ship. But watching Star Trek, that lesson that you need to blow up the ship to move forward is something that's always stuck with me. For anybody familiar with Star Trek, you're going to know Captain Kirk. You know, William Shatner's portrayal of that character is just iconic. Captain Kirk is and remains one of my greatest heroes. I had the privilege and the opportunity to meet William Shatner, who played Captain Kirk, at the Star Trek convention in 2011. And honestly, it's one of the highlights of my life. I have a picture of the two of us that I proudly display over my desk here in my home office. Throughout the TV series and the movies, Captain Kirk is always trying to save the crew from a nearly impossible situation. He's cleverly outwitting opponents, and he's coming out on the other side better for it. In Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, Captain Kirk had to blow up the ship. He literally had to destroy the Enterprise, the one thing that was most important to him, to save his crew from the Klingons, the enemies, as he had no other options. And when I think about that scene, and I think about the legacy of Star Trek and of Captain Kirk, I think that there's such a connection to being a leader. Because there are times when we are working on projects, or we're working on teams, that we just know, and others around us might know, it's just not working. We've had the best efforts, we've tried multiple attempts to fix what we're trying to do, we're trying to right the ship and steer everything in the right direction. But there is no alternative sometimes to literally blowing things up and starting over. We could have to cancel a project because we know that it's just not going to be successful, and it might be the right thing to do because it's wasting time, it's wasting money, it's wasting effort. There's no point continuing to go down a path. You have to say, this is enough. We're going to stop. Or you got to do it completely different. You got to make a tough decision. In an earlier podcast episode, I talked about the importance of making tough decisions. And even that could include, breaking up a team by maybe removing certain team members that are not the right fit. The decision to blow up a ship and alter course and change where you're going is tough. But it's necessary. Sometimes, for the betterment of all that are involved. Now, some people aren't going to get it. They're going to be concerned about the future and what changes may come. Ultimately, what people want to know is, how does a change affect them? Now, if people are always focused on themselves, then it's important for leaders to explain and give context. They need to share the why behind any sort of change in direction. And if it's a drastic change, like blowing up how something is done, they need to know. Leaders need to be transparent about why things are shifting. Is it internal conditions? Is it company performance? Is it stuff going on within the market? Just the world has changed. We are living in a new normal. And with that new normal is going to require adjustments. Those who can shift and show that they are flexible are going to be the ones that are going to be successful. Now, I know that it can seem drastic sometimes, blowing up the ship, but it might be the best option available. Now, if we go back to a quote from Star Trek, Spock, who we all know as the science officer of the Enterprise, he says throughout a number of different Star Trek movies that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. Deciding to make that tough call to start over, build something completely new, or challenge existing processes is tough. Now, the decision to make that call can't be taken lightly. But once the ship is blown up, there's not a chance that one might be able to go back to doing what they were doing before. There has to be a sense of logic made when it comes to completely changing where the team goes or what somebody does. It might feel like there are no-win scenarios, but with the right logical approach, choosing the best of sometimes what might be perceived to be the worst options is something that you might need to do. What I always suggest is that leaders need to select the best option that's going to yield the best successful outcome for as many people as possible. Some decisions made are just not going to be popular, but it's important that leaders gain the faith and trust of their team so that the decisions made can be perceived by the majority of the group as being fair and as being the correct one. Now, being in charge is not always easy. As I've said numerous times, making tough decisions, it's going to have to happen. People are not alone. There are resources to help people with making those decisions easier throughout one's journey as a manager or as a leader. That's why it's important to consult with one another or to reach out for help or get a second opinion. But if you ultimately know that the decision needs to happen where you need to blow up the ship and do something drastic or completely different, then you need to do it. There's no point waiting for the right time, because sometimes the right time never comes. Sometimes circumstances dictate that the right time is any time. Ultimately, challenging and blowing up processes, tools, or how work is done, or making tough calls on people or situations, it just comes with the territory of being a leader. That's what we're all asked to do, is make the tough decisions. Not everyone's going to like it, but it's important that people understand it. And it's through great leadership and having well thought out and articulated plans that are communicated well that leaders will be more successful. You've been listening to The Chris Hanna Show. To have me speak at your next event, or for additional solutions to help you achieve more than you thought possible, visit chrishanna.ca today. For other solutions and resources designed to help companies and leaders rethink and evolve their approach to managing, be sure to check out evolvingmanagement.com. Lastly, please remember to subscribe and share to receive the latest episodes wherever you listen to your podcast. We look forward to connecting with you again soon for another episode of The Chris Hanna Show.